Hey TV fans, hope you are having a good festive season. And on this video I'm going to be talking about episode 8 of Dexter New Blood. The episode is called Unfair Game, so spoilers from the start of the review as always. And this season obviously chunking along quite nicely. I'm really into it now a lot more. And we're obviously at the final stretch of the season, 2 more to go after this one. And this episode is quite straightforward in the structure. It's a good old fashioned game of cat and mouse. That's the sort of idea with it, where it's divided mostly between Kurt and Harrison and Dexter and the guy who Kurt hired to kidnap him. And we see Kurt's devious plan come into full force in this episode. So that's the main part of the episode. So the guy who nabbed Dexter at the end of the last episode, at the point where he decided that he better tell Harrison everything because things were getting out of hand. Well, as I thought, that guy is working for Kurt. So, and where this episode ends and the setup from that, it is kind of, I think, good storytelling, because Dexter was obviously at the point where he was going to tell Harrison everything, and then and then there's like hurdles sort of thrown in his way of that. But then by the end of this episode, he's finally gotten to his son again, and he now has the chance to do just that. But so the guy has Dexter in the back of his car, and we see Dexter having this dream. I mean, dream maybe not the right word, more of a nightmare, but he's having like visions of Harrison turning into his father, basically, like brutally killing these, like the bullies, the ones who he almost stabbed, or he got a little bit of a stabbing on one of them in the last episode. So Dexter's having those sorts of dreams, and he wakes up in the back of this guy's car. He's tied up. He overhears a phone conversation with Kurt, so he knows who's behind it, and he just happens to hear then Kurt is going after Harrison. So we divide between the two storylines, and Kurt goes to find Harrison. So we're cutting between the two of them, and Kurt's kind of doing more things, more tactics to try and butter Harrison up, to try and, bond with him and get him on his side. But all the while, the plan is to like lure him to the cabin, and he's eventually gonna play his game on him and kill him. And the plan is then this guy will drive Dexter to the cabin just at the right time, so that Dexter has to see his own flesh and blood be killed. So it's like revenge for obviously him killing Matt. But so we get a game of cat and mouse between Dexter and this other guy, because Dexter like jumps on him in the car. He like strangles him. The car like veers out of control, and then the other guy obviously recovers. He's not dead from that, so he starts shooting at Dexter, and Dexter tries all these like different things to try and throw him off the scent, because time is of the essence. He knows Harrison could be in danger, so he in a way he doesn't really have time to kill this guy. He wants to just give him the slip so that he can get to Harrison, and he tries the old tactic of like creating another trail in the snow, like a different one, so it looks like he's like doubled back on himself, so the guy will follow that trail, because it's in the snow, so his tracks are really easy for the guy to like follow. But he doesn't go for that, so eventually he lures him to like this abandoned place. And in one of the highlights of the episode, actually, I did really like Dexter like jumping out of the mirror at this guy, and he finally pins him down and forces him to tell him where Kurt's taken Harrison. And yeah, so he finds that out, and Dexter ends up killing the guy because, of course, he does. The guy's like, nothing personal, I was just doing my job. And Dexter kills him and says, well, it's my son, so of course it's personal. And he finds out they've gone to the cabin. It's a weird sort of episode because that stuff was solid, but it's actually one of those episodes where I actually enjoyed the stuff with Harrison a bit more. And I've not really said that in any other episode, because Harrison I have found a little bit boring, and some of the drama with him at school hasn't really been my bag. But I think in this case it's because he's with Kurt for most of the episode, and Kurt is just a fantastic villain. I love Clancy Brown in the role, and he's just doing little things like at one point he breaks into the school. Well, he's got a set of keys sort of thing, because he's like the wrestling coach, or was the wrestling coach, and they sort of break in and they do all these things. They bond over the past, so Kurt's telling him like stories about his son. And then they start playing a game, where they've got like the baseball machine that shoots out like balls, and they're practicing hitting, and I mean, it maybe drags on a bit, but it's a clever little scene because Kurt's doing all these subtle little things to kind of like humiliate Harrison, and because he starts like changing things up, doing like swerve balls, and it sort of goes on, and Harrison ends up with all these like marks on his body as a result, and it's sort of like tough love in a way, but Kurt just does these small little things that kind of subtly has like digs at Harrison, and just demeans him a little bit, but he does it in a way where Harrison can't really see what's going on, and at this point he's totally trustworthy of Kurt. And there's a little touch later when they're back at the cabin where Kurt tells him about his father, killing all these girls these many years ago, and it's like this link to Dexter, the fact that he's got this dark past. And now we don't really know for sure if Kurt's father really did abuse people and was a killer. That could be a cover story, but I think I like to read, and it probably was, because it's an explanation for what Kurt has become. But in any case, yeah, it eventually leads to him doing his whole game with Harrison, and obviously he's expecting the other guy to have Dexter in tow ready for him to see this, but it's actually Dexter driving the car, and he runs into Kurt, so he saves Harrison just in the nick of time. Something a bit questionable is how Kurt's like just escapes, because maybe the car didn't hit him that much, but it just seems that he escapes a bit too easily and quick. But obviously they're saving it for another time, because I did wonder, is he really going to kill Kurt in episode 8 when you've still got 2 more left? But no, Kurt does escape, and Dexter saves Harrison. And by the end, they've bonded again, or maybe for the first time, because they've kind of been at each other's throats since Harrison got to town, really. But obviously, by the end of the episode, Dexter is ready to tell him everything. And the other big plot in the episode is that Angela starts finding out more things about Dexter and about how he's been lying, like Logan, who's a bit of a douchebag. I mean, not the most subtle of guys, but he explains, casually drops in how Dexter was, or Jeff as he's known, was beating up like the local drug dealer that time, and then later on it sort of appears as so, because Angela starts questioning the drug dealer, and it just starts to appear because Logan tells her about how like the main drug dealer was found dead, and it appeared to be an OD, but like Dexter had been taken into custody, but then he was released sort of in time where it could have been him. So Angela's starting to wonder what's going on, and she saw like a needle mark in the neck of like the guy who Dexter was beating up, and then the guy who was killed, Jasper, has the same needle mark, and she starts reading into it, starts seeing stuff about the Bay Harbor Butcher and more stuff which looks like incriminating for Dexter, and that he's probably been lying to her. So that's burning along quite nicely. I mean, I think they've done it quite well, that storyline, and it gives Angela a bit more to do. So I think obviously the big two things now until the end of the season is going to be obviously the getting to Kurt and finally putting him down, but also is Angela going to find out the truth about Dexter? It's starting to look like she might do. So intriguing stuff. That's Dexter New Blood once again. Unfair game. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Share me out on social media. You can also ding the bell on YouTube for notifications when I go live with a video or when I go live with a live stream. And you can now support me on Patreon. Patreon.com/boardnow for extra content. So yeah, you can support me for as little as $1 a month there if you want to just add a bit of monetary support to the channel. But thanks for listening. I'll be back with more Dexter next week. See you later.